Hello, welcome to Bob's Dungeon. My name is Bob, and I'll be your host. And there are, over the years, there have been a lot of role playing games put out there. Some of them have been lost to time, really, and forgotten about. Others have been embraced and loved and have built cult followings and have spawned all kinds of new games based on their rules and so forth. But today we're going to talk about a game that is pretty forgotten. I had never heard of it before until a few years ago. I was at the Indiana Comic Con, and on my way back home, we stopped off at the Half Price Books in Greenwood, and I found the book there, and I'd never heard of it before. And so I purchased it, and it's kind of languished in my collection for a while. But I want to talk about it now. I try to find more information on this game and could find very little. The book itself promised to come out with more books, but we'll talk about that later. The book we're going to talk about is Old Frontiers. This book has 288 pages and a copyright of 2008. It was published by Frontier Games, and all of the artwork in this book is in black and white, and it's pretty decent. So let's go ahead and look at that artwork. This is the first picture we see when we open the book, which is just a black and white take of the book's cover. All of the artwork in this book is in black and white. And it is, for the most part, pretty decent, with some of it even being downright cool looking. And yeah, I'd sell some advanced instruments of death to these guys. What could possibly go wrong? To play this game, what you're going to need is, of course, a copy of this core rulebook and 12-sided dice. That's it. Character creation in this game is pretty simple. Everybody starts off with 75 points to build their character. And the first thing you do is you come up with your attributes. The attributes in this game are fitness, personality, intellect, and focus. And it costs 2 points per point that you want to put into an attribute. The attributes, everybody starts with 1 point in the attributes, and they can raise them up to 10, with 5 being the average. After you figure up your attributes, you figure up your skills. And skills, like the attributes, they range from 0 to 10. With 0, you don't have that skill. And then it gets kind of funky with these. It's a 1 for 1 point basis in character creation for buying points in your skills. Now, skills can be raised up to 4 at first, and that's the basic knowledge for that category, like art. And for up to 4 points, that means you have the basics of all art. You know how to use watercolors, drawing, painting, that kind of thing. But then from 5 to 10, it's a specialization, and it costs the same to buy specializations, and you have as many specializations as you want in the different skills. And it gives you examples of specializations in here, and you don't have to rebuy the 4 points when picking another specialization. It just goes off of the first time. So after you get your skills figured out, you can have assets and heals, and these are like merits and flaws, with the assets giving you bonuses to your character, and the heals giving you more points to spend on your other character traits. After that, you figure up your life pool. Your life pool is like hit points, and it is your fitness plus 10. Then you figure up your psychic, and that's like your mental stamina and stuff, and that's equal to your focus plus 10. After that, you pick a planet of origin, and it has 3 different planets in here for you to pick from. They are Ir, and I'm going to pronounce this one wrong, Bolingship, I'm not sure exactly how it's pronounced, and then Naveen. And you pick a planet of origin, and that gives you more bonuses and stuff for your character creation. And then you pick equipment, and it gives a couple of different ways that your game master can start beginning equipment for this game, and that's character generation. And this game uses 12-sided dice, and the way it works is you first build a skill pool, and the way this works is all the skills are tied to an attribute, and you put together your skill that you're using with the attribute and add that to a D12 roll. The task you're performing, the game master will set a difficulty, and if you equal to or succeed or exceed that difficulty number, you succeed. If not, you fail. Combat is done a little bit differently. Ranged combat is performed exactly the same way. You use the appropriate skill plus an attribute against the difficulty that your game master sets. But in melee combat, it's an opposed roll. Your character chooses the appropriate combat skill added to a attribute with added D12 against your target's appropriate roll for defense. And if the attacker gets higher, he hits, does damage. If the defender rolls higher, then he managed to avoid the attack and takes no damage. And damage is kind of nifty in this. It has a set number of damage for the different weapons and stuff that you'll use, so you don't have to worry about rolling random damage. Now, this game is pretty neat. If you like a lot of history and lore in your games, this is definitely a book for you. This book is almost 300 pages long, and 150 of those pages is dedicated to history. Now, it gives a history of how mankind got to space and got spread and everything, and how the Earth got destroyed. And that takes just a couple of pages. And then it talks about the 3 planets that are central in this game, which are Ir, Balingshir, and Naveen. And each of those have 40 to 50 pages each describing them. And we'll start with Ir. Ir is this technologically advanced planet where their technology has literally increased the lifespan of humans to hundreds of years. And there's literally no poverty on the planet. So it's got a good thing going for it. On Balingshir, they have horrible society. A lot of the people are laborers. Their planet was almost destroyed by Ir when the 2 planets were at war with each other. And the planet was left radioactive, but due to advances in their genetic scientistry, they were able to reclaim their homeworld. Everybody lives in these special trees and stuff. It's really neat. It describes it all in here. But then you have Naveen, and Naveen was a planet that they tried to colonize it several times and failed. Apparently there is an entity there that is very psychic and was killing off everybody they sent. Finally, it allowed this group in, and now everybody on Naveen is psychic and is trying to take over as a hive mind thing. It's really neat. But anyway, the history is the human race, they nuked our own planet, so everybody was dying. So they terraformed the moon, and then from the moon set to Mars. And everybody pretty much moved to Mars that could, and the Earth died. So it wasn't long after that they found a special ore that allowed them to travel to further reaches of space. And they started colonizing, and eventually they lost contact with Mars, and that's now a legendary thing in the past. And tens of thousands of years later, the ore ran out, and everybody lost contact with each other. And so you have some planets that maintained a technological advanced level, while others descended into barbarism. Now, eventually, these squids in space showed up, giant squids that were capable of traveling through space because their bodies are made up with the same ore that they were using for faster than light travel and all that. So they captured these squids and pretty much built ships around the squids, or grew the squids into the ships, and can now travel once more and are opening up contact with the other worlds. There are war callings between Ir and Bolshevik. Like I said, I cannot pronounce that name. I'm sorry, but they could go to war again. While Naveen is spreading its word out to other planets now. This book concentrates on those 3 planets, and so it leaves you a large area where you can come up with your own stuff. Now, this book promised to come out with other books to give you more worlds that you can use in your game, but I've looked and I can find no other books for this game. So there's that. It just gives you incentive to create your own stuff. And the technologically advanced races are selling advanced goods to the barbarous ones. So that is definitely going to end well. This book has a blank character sheet in the back for you to use. It has some pre-generated characters for you to use and some starting adventures for you if you want. And all in all, it's a pretty good game. I read through it and I like it. I'd love to find players for it because there's some interesting things you can do in this game. It's got a bunch of rules on psychic abilities, so if you want to use psionics in your game, you can do that. It's got rules for cybernetics. You can purchase cybernetics at character creation through assets. And later on, if you hadn't, you can get cybernetics on your own. So that's pretty cool. And this brings me to 3 questions. Would I play a character in this game? And absolutely, I like science fiction. And this one's got a pretty good setting to it. Would I run this? And yes, I would. Because like I said, I like this game. There's a lot I could do with it. A lot of open spaces to come up with my own stuff. Would I recommend this game? If you can find it and it sounds interesting to you, I would recommend this game. Like I said, they promised to release more material for it, but this book came out in 2008 and I've seen nothing more for it. So, gives you a lot of incentive to create your own stuff. And that's pretty much all I got to say for Old Frontiers right now. Thank you for joining me at a look at this book, and hopefully you'll join me next time where we'll talk about something else. Bye.